Trick Room. He's got 2 Trick Room setters. His team is overall pretty slow. And Shilian kind of wants to be out of Trick Room, maybe in Tailwind with that Iron Jugulus, but the only real way that he has to stop that Shilian has to stop the Trick Room is with this probably taunt on the Sarina, if I had to guess. So here we go. We do see Kyogre and Incineroar from Shilian Tang, and Incineroar and Raging Bolt on the side of Leonard.
Okay, so the Intimidates are not going to help out too much here, but both of them have the Fake Out, so there's a really good way to be able to maybe stop the... Ooh, interesting.
So
talk to me about the speed interaction you just saw there.
That's right. So Incineroar on Leonard's side, you can see it has only 190 HP. That is a very fast Incineroar. Not only this is Turbo Incineroar. This is Incineroar, and he's been running on the treadmill every day. You know what I mean?
He's got those gains.
She's got the gains. So here we go. Fake Out coming out here, not worried about potential Sarina. Flinch from the Kyogre. So the speed order is actually Incineroar, then Kyogre, then Raging Bolt. Thunderbolt coming out doing a good chunk of damage. That's half of Shiliang's restricted Pokemon's health lost in a single turn, and all that Shiliang received in return was a drop on the Raging Bolt, who, I mean, it's good to get the drop, but it's not the restricted Pokemon. Right,
the damage trade is so nice here for Leonard, and I think you feel really good about maybe even seeing what else might be in the back. Shiliang is going to actually bring out the Zarina as that third Pokemon, so what do you kind of make of that?
Well, I think it makes sense here, right? You can potentially taunt the Incineroar to stop a parting shot, although you can also, like, it depends on if Shiliang has realized that Incineroar is faster than Kyogre. Shiliang's a great player, so he probably has, but otherwise you might try to be thinking like, okay, like maybe I'll go for like a grass move and a water move into the Incineroar, Ice Spinner and a water move into Incineroar to punish whether it tears or not. But yeah, like, I mean, it's like, it really depends on who's faster between Incineroar and Sarina, because, I mean, Sarina is going to have Tailwind support. It doesn't need to be that fast in theory, and so it makes me wonder, like, yeah, maybe, like, maybe Incineroar's faster than that too. We'll have to see here as Incineroar's deciding what it wants to go for here. There is the taunt that it has to worry about. It depends really on what Shiliang wants to do here. It is faster than the Sarina. Incineroar's turbo fast. Faster than Kyogre, faster than Sarina.
Is that speed?
I mean, it has to be, right? Like, I mean, it could even be a nature that boosted speed. So the question is, what does Leonard have to bring into this, right? And it is, I mean, that's a pretty good option.
That's a really nice option to have.
Switching in here, of course, Sarina does have the option of going for a move like a Power Whip or something in exchange. It's just Triple Axle into the Raging Bolt with, I believe it is the Wide Lens item. This is,
it should be.
Oh my goodness, that does a lot of damage.
It's a lot. I mean, especially when the power increases with every hit that you have too. As long as you hit all 3, it's going to feel nice, but the Raging
Shot playing huge dividends, no freeze. This is not going to KO without a critical hit, but that's a lot of damage, Rose. And all of a sudden, Kyogre, I mean, looking at Shiliang's team, like, there aren't that many Pokemon that really want to take Glacial Lance, especially if a boost is involved. So, yeah, I mean, like, Calyrex Ice can come in here and start pressuring. Both players do still have access to the Terrestrialization, which is nice. Leonard can go back into Incineroar here saying, hey, you know what, I want to keep my Urshifu alive here. Going into Calyrex is like an option, of course, but then, yeah, Incineroar comes in and it can be a little bit messy. So why don't I just go back into Incineroar, make sure that my Urshifu can probably survive the turn. Even with the Wide Lens, we do know that it is possible for some of these
triple axle miss.
Exactly, for triple axle miss, but also Power Whip. So yeah, Leonard playing the slow, which I really like, accepting that Urshifu in the rain, like basically turning Shiliang's rain against him, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen this a lot, though. Maybe players just tacking on even Thunder if they're going up into a bunch of rain matches where they expect to see that. But the Zarina's leaving the field, and we're going to end up being able to see Shiliang switch in the Urshifu of his own. So the Surging Strike's here going to be enough to knock out this Kyogre, but when you're left without the restricted, what can Shiliang do here?
Yeah, I think it's time for Urshifu to start looking like a restricted Pokemon. Normally, you'd be thinking, okay, well, like even the Raging Bolt is low HP. I mean, it does still have Thunderclap. It can still do a ton of damage to Urshifu. Leonard actually opting for something that might end up really hurting him here, which is that his Calyrex Ice Rider is Terra Fire. We talked a lot earlier on the broadcast about the choice between Terra Water versus Grass. Fire has the benefit of, you know, like not being susceptible to Intimidate, but the downside is that you don't really have a good defensive type against the opposing Urshifu, and with Sarina potentially protecting the Urshifu from not only Fake Out but also Thunderclap, this could get kind of messy kind of quickly.
It could. I mean, Shiliang all of a sudden maybe looks like, yeah, well, Urshifu should have been the restricted Pokemon all along.
Yeah, Kyogre was really just saying, you know what, hey Urshifu, here's the rain, like, oh, Ice Beam the Raging Bolt, I get it kind of low for you, but yeah, you do the rest of the work.
Yeah,
I'm going to take a nap.
Well, the Ice Rider Calyrex is coming in first, and then we get a chance to see what Shiliang wants to put next to it, so maybe it is going to be that Zarina, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And that's a really great way to be able to protect it, but it's just the Incineroar.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? Because if Serena comes in here, you have to choose between like taking a Glacial Lance, or like you still don't want to take Surging Strikes in the rain, especially like, again, both players have their Terra available. So Leonard actually is running the Terra Water on his Urshifu, so getting potentially a pretty meaningful damage boost here. So like, yeah, like just once Serena goes down, I think that Urshifu is a lot more vulnerable to Raging Bull Thunderclap, to Incineroar, Intimidate. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go into Incineroar here and just try to buy a turn. Oh, this is interesting, Rose. I had missed this, or actually it's close combat on the Calyrex, which not only never misses, but also does even more damage than high horsepower.
That would be really impactful, especially, you know, maybe not necessarily getting baited into hitting into the Incineroar, but maybe you do catch this Urshifu off guard, as it is going to terrestrialize into that water type.
That's right. It's interesting here because both players like want the rain for their own Urshifu, but they also kind of want to tend so that the other Urshifu stops hitting so hard. We'll have to see who fake out targets down here. It is actually the Urshifu that makes sense. You don't want to lose Incineroar here because then you're going to be in some trouble. Here's the Surging Strikes into the Calyrex Ice Rider. It's going to do a big chunk of damage with the rain boosting it. Actually, that might be doing so much damage that another one, even out of the rain, might KO. It's going to be kind of close. It's going to be hard to say. We actually do also see, very importantly, that the opposing Urshifu moved before, like Shilian's Urshifu moved before Leonard's Urshifu. Oh, and this is very interesting as well, Rose, in that might be in range of Terra Water. That's probably in range of Terra Water Surging Strikes in the rain.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, it's interesting too, because now I think, especially with the defense drop,
yeah,
maybe we have to take a look at how that Ice Rider Calyrex is going to fare in a couple of turns, but
if it makes it there.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, if it does. But especially with a Choice Scarf, too.
Oh, it's a speed tie!
Wow!
Yeah, so the other Urshifu moved first last turn, but Trey says, you know what, I think you're probably about the same speed as I am, and so picking up a KO on the Urshifu, at this point, like, Calyrex Ice Rider may go down, right? Incineroar has the move Knockoff, which can potentially take out the Calyrex Ice Rider with the defense drop, as you pointed out. No way it will survive that. It can also go for a Parting Shot. It goes for a Will-O-Wisp actually into the Urshifu. I think that's a great play from Shilian, but, like, Rose, there's still this full HP Incineroar in the back. How on earth is Shilian going to get through Incineroar? Like, yeah, okay, you can probably deal with the Calyrex, the easy Pokemon. You know, it's restricted, but it's not, you know, it's just a Calyrex. But Incineroar, the main threat, how is Shilian gonna get through that? I don't see a clear answer.
No, I think it's like kind of Incineroar and Zarina up against the world at this point.
Yeah.
To be fair, like, Zarina does still have the Power Whip, so it is a way to be able to hit that Urshifu for super effective damage. But the Urshifu still has that Choice Scarf, which is going to be faster than Zarina.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we do see, Leonard switching out Calyrex into Incineroar. And, like, Incineroar basically, like, of course, there's two water Pokemon on the other side. You might think, well, you know, Incineroar, like, how much can it really do against Kyogre, you know, one of the strongest, like, legendary Pokemon, restricted Pokemon in history, and Urshifu, like, the strongest legendary Pokemon of today. But then you have Incineroar, and it's like, you know, like, I'll deal with your Pokemon some other way. I'll, you know, Parting Shot, I'll fake out. Here's the Terra, though, coming out for Shilian. I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, you need to use it at some point. It is the Serena here, basically saying, I don't want to be weak to Ice. I don't want to be weak to Incineroar. I'm just checking if it has Flare Blitz. It does, so it's a good defensive Terra. My thought process is it might be a little bit too little too late.
I think so too, especially when you're going to have to take the Surging Strikes as well. Even with the burn into the Incineroar, it's still going to do a meaningful amount of damage. It's not going to do enough to actually get the knockout this time.
It's going to be close, but I think you're right.
If you use the Flare Blitz, is there recoil that might just KO you?
That's true. That's true. I mean, Incineroar also can't really do that much. It can't, like, it can't really, like, burn. There's no good targets for being burned.
Doesn't have Flare Blitz.
Yeah.
But, you know,
here's Power Up. It does connect, so we do see the value in the wide lens there. A move is always scary to use, even with the wide lens going up to, I think, 93.5 or something like that. My math is, you know, roughly correct. So that's the end of Urshifu, but I think Urshifu's done its job. It KO'd Kyogre, it KO'd Urshifu, and it almost KO'd Incineroar. So knockoff is meaningful here. That means that Leonard is going to lose the Citrus Berry, which is a big deal. That is the first step, I think, in turning this game around. But yeah, like, I mean, you still have to deal with Raging Bolt. You still have to deal with, like, Incineroar. It's getting kind of dicey, in my opinion.
Yeah, Thunderbolt this arena. You can't Thunderclap it because of Queenly Majesty, but we've also seen that maybe you just go for the Incineroar.
It's so funny to me. Like, you see all these Pokemon you normally expect to outspeed Incineroar, and Leonard's Incineroar is just like, actually, I want to go first. I'm going to go first, actually. So let's see who's faster between the... Okay, it is Sarina faster than the Incineroar. So, I mean, in theory, Sarina with a Power Whip critical hit could KO the Calyrex.
Like,
and then, I don't see how it beats Incineroar. But you never know. You never know. Triple Axle means triple chance to critical hit, if you know what I'm saying.
That's true. I mean, the 30 So I don't want to do the math on that one, actually.
Anyway, Calyrex back on the field here, going to be able to threaten with a close combat. If close combat connects, I think this game is over. But Leonard also knows he doesn't need to rush into it. I think a big mark of a I think something that's a good player and a great player like is the ability to close out games that are probably like in your favor, right? Like 90, like it's something actually Dr. Aaron Trailer told me one time is that winning a Pokemon game like 85, 90% of the time is a lot easier than winning a Pokemon game 99 or 100% of the time, and that just that recognition to say, yeah, of course, like I probably won't get critical hits, so I can just attack. Like that's the obvious answer. But saying, you know what, like protective parting shot is so much safer, right?
Yeah,
so,
you can't open yourself up to those small windows of which you would give over an additional win condition to your opponent.
Exactly. So I think the fact that Leonard, despite having such a playing such a great game and having such a big advantage, is still like cognizant enough to say, you know what, like yeah, I'm probably gonna win this, but let me still play to the best of my ability. And look at him, what a great guy, just a real gem, and someone the community is so lucky to have. If you're Shilian, Rose, how are you thinking about adjusting, and how are you thinking about dealing with this Turbo Incineroar?
Well, how can you actually be faster than it? Maybe setting up a Tailwind with the Iron Jugulus.
That's a good point, yeah.
Because that's something that you wouldn't necessarily know unless you've played Leonard before to say, okay, wow, your Incineroar may just be max speed with a positive speed nature.
Yeah.
And I know that that's actually a tech that's been popping up in the last couple of days and even just the past week heading into the event, but I didn't think I would see it with my own two eyes.
In the top 8. I think also another thing to point out is that turn 1 was Fake Out into Kyogre, Thunderbolt into Kyogre from Incineroar Raging Bolt.
And it was like 50%.
It did exactly. So you have the option of Terrestrializing Kyogre. It's not great because turning into grass means that Calyrex Ice Rider starts becoming very, very scary, but there is the option of switching in that Serena, right? I mean, if Leonard went Fake Out Thunderbolt and Serena switched in and there was just a Water Spout, that's the end of Incineroar, and that could turn the whole game around. So Leonard really saying, you know what, I don't think you're going to switch right away, so I feel comfortable going for this. I think it makes a ton of sense, but also, like, I mean, it's not the only option that Leonard has available, or that Shilian has available to him. Like, Leonard had to get the call right, and this is another option actually saying, you know what, like, Incineroar was a problem actually. Why don't I just lead with both my water
attackers?
By the way, Rose, something that's really interesting to me here is that because Leonard's Incineroar actually outspeeds Raging Bolt, you could go for Terra Grass and knock off into Kyogre and take out the... There's no way! There's no way!
No.
There's no way! No way!
Wait.
No! I can't believe it! I can't believe it! Serena has got to be the switch in here saying, yeah, you're going to fake out one of them. Leonard says, you know what? Maybe I won't.
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that.
The Kyogre. It's not even going to tear it anyway, so the Sulphus is gone. And
Here's the Water Spout. There's no way it survives this with no Bolt. Okay, that's the end of Incineroar, but Kyogre's going to take a ton of damage here.
Incineroar's already done his job.
Incineroar did more than his job. That was a critical hit. Maybe it mattered. I don't think so. And Volt Switch here, really, really important. Last game, the Raging Bolt, we saw how good it would have been against the Urshifu, but oh my god, it does so much damage. There's no more switch into Glacial Lance, Rose.
No, there isn't. Like, that's going to be so tough. Like, we don't want to see Urshifu take that. There's nothing else behind the scenes that you might want to be able to take that either. Maybe Incineroar?
Yeah, I guess so. It's the combination of the water and the ice moves. The Shilling does still have Urshifu to switch in, and this Arena, I mean, it is pretty threatening. We saw how much Triple Axel did to Raging Bolt last game. We also saw how much Power Whip did to Urshifu last game. So with a Terra Water, with defensive Terra, if you're willing to commit that, it can really change things a fair bit, I think. But the problem is that without Incineroar now that Trey has sacrificed, like Serena's a lot more threatening, and it looks like Serena is going to have to actually be the carry of this game as well. So we'll have to see kind of how Leonard deals with it. The only thing is that because the Raging Bolt is so much healthier this game, it's a lot less scary for Leonard to set up Trick Room because like Raging Bolt plus Calyrex, like that ice plus electric coverage is very, very, very threatening, especially with close combat to do even more damage to opposing Incineroar.
You can't just necessarily Terra the Serena, because then you are making yourself more vulnerable to that Raging Bolt.
Yeah, so I feel like how this game plays out really depends on if Leonard can find a way to get through both Kyogre, or to take out the Kyogre and deal with the Serena without giving up too much ground.
You're so safe here. It feels like they just go for the Glacial Lance, though.
You really are. The question is, what do you do with Urshifu, right? Because you can U-turn into Kyogre, bring in your Raging Bolt. Here's the Terra from the Serena, so both players... No, so Shilian has used the Terra now. Leonard is saving his potentially for Raging Bolt to get out of a tight spot, or yeah, like Terra Dragon can be pretty nice in theory. Here's the close combat, though. Not going after the Kyogre here, saying, you know what, I think that he's using the Unnerve. He's put both Pokemon into Glacial Lance range.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Zarina, though,
Taunt comes out.
Take a look at the taunt. You can't go for Trick Room here, but it was the Glacial Lance that Leonard did opt into. So will both of these go down? Thunder into the Urshifu does knock it out. but it's about this Glacial Lance and whether or not it's going to get the double KO.
This Kyogre's probably got a lot of defense investment because it's the Assault Vest. It has a lot of HP investment, most likely, but it knows not that fast. How much is Glacial Lance going to do? A double knockout! Calyrex Ice getting 2 boosts to its physical attack stat. Oh my goodness, what an incredible play from Leonard, saying, you know what? I think that you're going to go for Taunt or maybe Icicle Spin or Triple Axle into my Urshifu, predicting the obvious U-turn. I'm going to take out the Serena, the biggest threat to my team, and now Raging Bolt's Thunderclap threatens that Urshifu immensely, and there's no defensive Terra available on Shiliang's side.
Wow, and with the Zarina out, there's absolutely no reason to you don't have to go for the Trick Room.
No mind games.
Yeah, you already were taunted anyway, but still, yeah, just priority spam.
We have not seen the last Pokemon though. It is the Iron Jugulus this time. 2 Pokemon that I don't want on the field when I have when my opponent is Raging Bolt. I gotta tell you, are Iron Jugulus and Urshifu. Raging Bolt probably close to being able to close this one out on its own. The question though is, how much will Thunderclap do? Will it pick up a one-hit KO on the Urshifu? In past formats, Urshifu did train themselves to survive it, but with how much speed and attack you need to deal with Calyrex Shadow Rider, there's no guarantee anymore.
It's such a tough call. But I think, Aqua Jet to get around it is so smart because now the Thunderclap is going to fail.
That's right. Urshifu's Choice Scarves were just locked into that. The thing is, if Iron Jugulus goes down, there's no way that it will ever be able to beat this this Raging Bolt. Hurricane comes out, banking on confusion. There's no confusion. Glacial Lance comes out. Iron Jugulus will fall. Oh my goodness, Urshifu loses half of its HP, and Calyrex takes its 3rd KO of the match, and all but seals this up for Leonard.
Yeah, there's no surviving, I think, for this Urshifu. Even though you're locked into the Aqua Jet, the Raging Bolt could still just go for a Thunderbolt here, get around it, and get the knockout.
There's no option left.
Wow.
Leonard actually going for the Terrestrialization there, but Shiliang understands, just in case, understanding that the match is over, Shiliang does choose to forfeit. There we go, the handshake. Such good sportsmanship from both of these players. What an incredibly played set from Leonard. I cannot say how impressed I am with that. It looked actually like a pretty difficult matchup, right? The Assault Vest Kyogre, the Urshifu putting on so much offensive pressure.